Hi, I'm Dan Klaidman, and from Newsweek, and we're coming to you from the Women in the World Summit. And I have with me Janet Napolitano, who is the Secretary of Homeland Security, and who's just participated in a fascinating panel discussion on women in the national security sphere. People on the panel talked a fair bit about what women bring to bear in these positions, what different kinds of perspectives they bring, and what difference ultimately it makes. Obviously, you want there to be equality, but what tangible difference does it make for someone like you to be at the head of the Department of Homeland Security?
You've got to have the qualifications. You can't be in positions we hold, which are still fairly male-dominated, without having the qualifications to have the job. Secondly, even once you're in there, however, your perception is a little bit different. Every leader's perception is guided a bit by their life experiences, how they feel for the priorities they need to set. And so each one of us, and I think myself and the chief of the D.C. Police Department, we're very clear about this. Because we're women, different issues have been given priority. One that I identified was the whole priority against human trafficking, which is a global scourge. It really affects women and girls who are trafficked to be sex slaves, to be household workers, kept in servitude, not paid, not have terrible working conditions. We've made that a real cause at our department. It also relates somewhat to the paths taken for drug traffickers, big problem, but also routes or methods and tactics and techniques that a terrorist might use to actually gain entry into the United States and to hide here.
You ever encounter resistance? And if so, what do you do to move the bureaucracy along? Or are these ideas that are readily accepted?
Well, I think we've been able to move a lot of these ideas. And I think when you're leading a large department or an entire state government or what have you, you're right. Turning the ship can take a lot of work. You've got to be persuasive. You've got to be persistent. You've got to recognize that you may roll the rock up a little bit one day, and the next day it may roll back down. But you keep on pushing.
Ray Kelly, the chief of police, has been under fire for a very aggressive surveillance program directed at the Muslim community in New York, and even further out in New Jersey as well. I wonder what your reaction is to that program and to the criticism that it's gotten.
Well, I'm not going to second guess the commissioner of police here. He has, I think, control of the situation. I think he understands that you need to have proper training and supervision to do these sorts of things. But what I will say is that we work very hard with particular communities that we know could be problematic if a terrorist or an extremist were to be in the country. I'll give you an example. We have a lot of outreach into the Somali American community. Why is that? Well, because some of their young men have gone to Somalia to train to be fighters there, have become members of Al-Shabaab, which is a terrorist group, and may very well re-enter the United States. Well, we need to know that, and to have good outreach so that a mom feels comfortable saying to us, look, my son's been gone in Somalia for 6 months, he's coming back, I thought you ought to know. That helps us in our prevention apparatus. Now, in terms of countering violent extremism, we're all about law enforcement. We're all about teaching about the tactics, the techniques, the early warning signs, what local police should be watching out for, because we need to be able to intervene to the greatest extent possible before one of them becomes successful.
Thanks so much for being with us and for being at the conference.
Thank you a lot.